episode of DRL is brought to you by Hella Cocktail Company. At this point in the quarantine, you've probably become a teacher, a chef, a housekeeper, a hairdresser, a barista, a trainer, and so much more. But when it's time to unwind from all that, Hella Cocktail Company can turn you into a bartender, a great one. Hella Cocktail Company features premium bitters and soda, and cocktail mixes. My favorite is the spicy margarita mix. I use it to make chili watermelon margaritas, and I just add tequila, some watermelon juice, and then a few dashes of the smoked chili bitters. It's so good. Hella Bitters and Soda is now available at Whole Foods, or you can use code DRL online at hellacocktail.co for free shipping. Hello, my lovely listeners. Welcome back to another episode of DRL, where we're talking everything dating, relationships, and love. I'm your host, Tennesha Wood. So today I am here with my mom. We were just talking on the phone and talking about everything that's been happening. You know, my mom grew up in Jamaica, and so we were talking about the differences between race in Jamaica versus race in the United States. So I thought that this was a really interesting conversation. So Mom, hi.
Hi, daughter. How are you doing?
I'm okay. Trying to deal. I want to talk a little bit, Mom, about your history and growing up in Jamaica and what that experience was like around race versus what you faced here in the United States. So tell us a little bit about just growing up in Jamaica and your racial background and what that was like.
Oftentimes tourists visit Jamaica, and when you ask them, what do you like about Jamaica? The first thing they said, the love, the way the people are so nice. And so I feel like the culture we have is just a togetherness. And I'm happy to be a Jamaican. I'm happy to born in Jamaica, I should say, to see what real love is, what togetherness is, not to be judged by any one group. We have many different cultures there. We have immigrants from different countries like Africa, India, China, Lebanon, Syria, UK, and the USA, and we all get along. We never see race as an issue. It was just really, really nice growing up in Jamaica. We didn't see race as a factor.
But is that because the majority of people are Black? So if you're Black, it's easy to say like, oh, race wasn't a huge deal because that was the majority versus in America, it's not the majority.
We have different parishes. Some parishes have more Indian than others. So my mother, she's from Westmoreland, but he married my dad and moved to Hanover. And so growing up in Hanover, we were pretty much the only Indian there, but I never see that until I migrated to the United States to really reflect back that we were the only one, because I didn't see it.
Just to give a little bit of background on your own race, like your mother is of Indian descent and then your father is Black.
He mixed with a little white based on slavery. But my mom, grandma, I think, she came as an indentured servant to work in Jamaica, so as the Chinese at that time.
So in Jamaica, the prevailing race is Black, but there are also a lot of Indian people. And then there's also a lot of Asian people there.
It's not a lot. Maybe it's about 3%.
So when you were growing up, was there any sort of hierarchy based on race? Like, because Black is the majority, were they considered at the top? You know, were Indian people considered greater based on their skin color? Like, was there any sort of hierarchy around race?
You know, we were ruled by British up to 1962. We got independence 1962. You have to understand, prior to that, the country was run by a lot of white Europeans. And so by the time we have independence, most of those white Europeans went back to England or wherever in Europe they came from. And so at that time, the Black teachers took over and the system start running by Jamaicans.
Was there any remnants of colonialism left over in Jamaica after they gained independence and the Europeans left?
Earlier, yes, color was an issue. Like part of them wanted to hire the lighter skinned people in certain positions. Personally, I never experienced that because I was born after 1962, so I never really had that experience.
But you being of a lighter skin tone, it would be hard for you to know if colorism was actually happening because it probably wasn't happening to you if it was.
Again, I don't feel like I got treated any better than or any less than anyone else going to school, which the school I went to, I probably would say maybe five people that I know would be like my color or lighter. So, but I really didn't have any issue with either way.
But you wouldn't notice it. I'm not saying it happened or it didn't happen. I'm just saying, like, if the desired thing or the thing that people generally get advancement for is happening, the people that are being advanced by it might not notice it because for them, it's just like, oh, well, this is just life. Just like in America, you'll say to a white person, like, hey, this is happening to me because I'm Black or I'm being treated less than, and I know it's based on just the color of my skin. And then they might say, well, no, like that's not my experience. Like that's not happening. And it's true. It's not their experience because they can't see it because it's not happening to them. And I only say that because, you know, Jamaica was under colonial rule until 1962, like you said. So there had to be some remnants of that. You know what I'm saying? So if it had to be passed down in some ways, like it just, the white people just didn't leave. And then it was like, oh, well, colonialism, colorism, and everything that came with it is now gone.
People were getting better jobs because the color of their skin. But again, because of the colonialism, those people, they were in a better position to send their kids to school, to college. Mm-hmm. So for sure, you're going to have the lighter skin tone at that time going to be more educated than the Black one because of the wealth or the money they have to send the kids because of the colonialism. But after in the 70s, I can't recall, we have a prime minister named Michael Manley. When he came in power, he changed all that because he opened free education to every single person whoever has the ability to go to school, they were more than welcome to go for free. So it changes the dynamic of what was happening prior to that, because people of darker skin could now go to college for free. So now their dark kids could grow up with an education. And so it started changing. The position comes up, we have educated, darker skinned people who are qualified, just as qualified, or even more. The motto we have in Jamaica is out of many, one people. Because we mix together, the culture mixed together. And so we call ourselves Jamaican. They wouldn't say white, Black, Indian. No. We are proud whether you're Indian, whether you're Chinese, whether you're Lebanese, whether you're Syrian, as long as you achieve something, we are so proud. We said, there goes the Jamaican. You know, we don't look at it like, oh, she's a Chinese Jamaican. We never use that term. We usually proudly say we have to root for that Jamaican.
Growing up, did you ever experience anything based on race? So whether that be somebody making fun of you or somebody elevating you or somebody talking about your choice in men, for example, like Dad is darker than you, you know? So
no.
Was that ever brought up like in any sort of way or amongst either of your families?
No, they look at class issue. They don't look so much at the race as much as the class. like the, family you came out of, the money. It's more of a class issue rather than a race issue.
So in Jamaica, they'll judge you based on what's in your wallet, not your skin
exactly
color.
What's in your wallet, yeah, exactly. And so you have to remember too, Tennesha, that where I grew up, I was surrounded by mostly not much Indians, not any Indians whatsoever. So for me, I didn't honestly never crossed my mind that I was different, have some different race from them. Never did it ever cross my mind. Like, oh my God, he's black. No, it just never did. And I don't know, I can't talk for my sisters or my brother, but I don't think it never crossed my mind that, oh, he's a black guy over there. Oh, no.
But in Jamaica, they do say things, Mom. Like they do say like, oh, that's the coolie gal. Like signifying your ethnicity and your race. Like in Jamaica, I think it's kind of an offensive term actually, but coolie, when they say coolie people, it means Indian people.
And I don't think in their mind, it's like a hate name. They just grew up here and people will say it, but I don't think they mean it like in such a mean, dirty way. Most people where I grew up, I never really hear to talk about race too much. Yeah, they might call her the coolie girl, but at the same time, it wasn't like a hateful word to them. They just hear that. Like, for instance, I would be from an Indian descent. They don't hear the word Indian. They hear, oh, it's a coolie girl.
I mean, I know it's an offensive term, but I hear it so much in Jamaica. But why is it actually offensive? Do you know?
Coolie mean a hard worker, something to do with laborer. But they interpret it as an Indian person is a coolie. And so I don't know because they came as an indentured servant.
Was it a term given by colonizers, the term coolie?
I'm not sure where it came from, to be honest with you.
I'm going to look it up because I'm curious. It does mean labor. The word coolie, meaning labor, has a variety of other implications and is sometimes regarded as offensive. The word originated in South Asia in the 17th century and meant day laborer. Coolie is now regarded as a derogatory and or racial slur.
For me, I think they just call Indian coolie.
I think it just caught on with everybody in Jamaica as a term to refer to Indians. And I don't think when a Jamaican person says it, it's meant to be in any way derogatory. But I think the reason that the word itself has, come out under fire or is considered offensive is because the origin of the word is why there's an issue. It's not that the people using it now are, have any malintent.
Exactly.
So when you came to America, what was your first experience with race? Like what was different? What did you notice? So when you first came to the United States, we lived in Boston, which I think in itself is already a city that has a lot of historically, racist ways.
Yes. Actually, the first real experience I had is when you went to school and you came back home and you said to me how a little white boy was calling your name, was being hateful. I don't know if you quite remember. You were in first grade.
I don't remember, but what I do actually remember, though, is the first time I think I recognized race was, I don't know if you were dropping me off or picking me up or something, but you were at my school and somebody noticed you as like my mother. And then a kid asked me if I was adopted. And I said, well, why would I be adopted? And he said something like, oh, well, your mom is white or your mom doesn't look like you or something. But it made me realize like, what is he? At first it was like, oh, what is he talking about? But that was the first time I think I really sort of recognized how you and I look different.
You came home. I remember you came home and you said to me what the boy was saying to you. And I said to you, honey, they're just jealous of you. They want to look like you because you're so beautiful. And, that's why they're jealous of. And you didn't pay much of a mind. I think you were so full of self-confidence. You thought you were the best looking thing God has created. And I was so happy that you have that feeling.
So for those
you
that
were,
don't recognize yet, my mother is the confident woman and instilled that same sort of confidence in me. So if somebody
yeah,
didn't
so
like me, I
you were,
always was like,
so
they just want to be me. And so that's why they're acting like that. And it's fine.
yeah, so they just want to be you, and so just ignore it, but they will never be as beautiful as you. Don't care how they try. And so you just like hold it in your head, so I don't think I don't feel you ever come home to me after that and feel like you were belittled in any way because you were so proud of yourself. Each time you go to school, you come home even prouder. Even though you were the only black girl in that class. And I told you, I said, you're one of a kind. And when there's only one of something, it means you're very special. And so they don't feel special, and that's why they're jealous. And so you would feel going to school, when you come home, you never ever tell me if you always feel so special and you continued on that path. And I was loving it because I'm like, oh my gosh, none of these is going to affect my daughter because she feels special. You were into doing things, being feeling special. So you always involve into something to be special. So I'm not sure. You tell me how much it bothers you because I didn't think it bothers you that much.
I mean, I don't think it bothered me in childhood. Like I was different, clearly. I was the only black kid in many of my classes and many schools. But I don't think I was actually bothered about race until I was like an adult. Going to corporate America, I think, was when you start to notice those things a lot.
I'm seeing it more now than when I just came here.
So you came to America in like the early 90s, late 80s, and you think
Yes,
it's
yes.
worse now than it was back in, the early 90s?
For me, I think it's worse now. In the job that I have at the time, I work with some really pretty decent manager at the time that I didn't see the race thing as much in the workplace for me when I came to Boston. I really didn't. I don't know if because I was of lighter skin.
Which is also a privilege.
Could be my privilege then. Coming here was because of my lighter skin. Because I didn't see the privilege in Jamaica, but maybe, I have to say maybe, I think I have seen it here when I came here.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I got my first job, in about 2 months, I was promoted. And I wasn't really asking for a promotion. It was like pawned up on me. And it was like, oh, I think you would be good for this position. And would you want to do it? And I'm like, sure, I don't know what it is, but I won't mind. I don't mind taking it. And so within working for the first 3 months, I was actually promoted to a supervisor. I really didn't have any problem with the white managers that I have. I have to say that I didn't really feel much racism other than maybe out in the public, like in the train, that look they give you. But I didn't really, honestly, I really didn't feel any racism while I was in Boston.
But also, Mom, the thing is, you're clearly a woman of color, like just looking at you, but you also don't look black. You know what I'm saying? And I think that there is a hierarchy in this country, and white is on top. And then I think probably below that might be like Asian people. And then below that might be, people of Hispanic or Latinx descent. And then below that is black people. You know what I'm saying? So I think personally that in this country, black people are on the low of the low, right? And in how we're treated in the hierarchy of it. And so I think for you, being that you don't look black, though you might be part black, you don't look black. And so you get the advantage of not being treated white, because people certainly know you're not white, but maybe being treated somewhere in the Asian or Latinx range.
I had a boss once in Minnesota here. Clearly, she knew I wasn't white. But then she would say to me, oh, it's a black person. Did you, make some racial comment to me. Like one time there was a guy came to the job for an interview. And so I did not know we were getting a new employee. so I said to her, there's a guy at the door. So I said, I have to go let him in if you are expecting someone. And she said, is he black or white? And I said, what does that have to do with anything? So clearly she kept forgetting who I am. I don't want to get in the whole rabbit hole here, but I did report her for that because to me that was clearly racism. But what I see in Minnesota here, as the saying says, Minnesota nice. They're nice, but they are more racist to me than the people that I meet in Boston. The people I met in Boston, I could clearly see where they stand. But in Minnesota, they would pretend to the core. And that's what bothers me because they smile with you. How is your day today? How are you today? Are you having a nice day? How was your weekend? In Boston, they wouldn't care to ask you that. I don't like you, just keep away from me. And you could tell by the body language that I don't care for you, which is okay. I like that better.
Because I'd rather know how to address you and how to treat you and how to interact with you versus it being fake.
Yes. Moving here when you were younger, I really didn't see too much either, but it seems like a black boy, they would have it a lot harder than even a black girl. Because the difference when I compare you in school and Travis in school, it was much harder for Travis.
So Travis is my little brother who is 10 years younger.
Yes, it wasn't impeccable for you, but at the same time with Travis, it's clearly that there was a difference because he was a boy.
Like in what way?
Teacher would send home messages to say, oh, he behaved badly. He was pushing this girl. And knowing my son, who he is, that he would never hurt a fly, I wouldn't accept that. And so I would have to get to the bottom of it. And I would go to the school and I would say, first I would consult my son. And I would say, son, what was the issue at school yesterday? What happened? Did the teacher talk to you about any issue? And then he would say to me that one of the issues he had was he was in the lunch line with some kids. And in the lunch line, kids are always pushing. Mm-hmm. And so one braced up against him and he braced, the whole line kept going forward. And so he happened to step on a girl's feet. And the girl went and told the teacher. Sure enough, the teacher she made a big scene out of it, report, write Travis up, put it in Travis' log, Travis's room and send home paper for me to sign that Travis was rude. Mm-hmm. So I called her up and I say to her, I saw the paper you sent home, but can you give me a little more info on this? And she's telling me how Travis stepped on this girl and the girl, and I'm like, did you ask Travis what transpired for this to happen? She quiet. She said, oh, he just stepped on. I said, listen, hold up. I pay taxes in this city here. I said, I happened to talk to my son. And my son said it was a lunch line and the kids were pushing. He didn't push, they pushed him. And you choose to send me a note? Are you crazy, woman? I said, I'm coming in there because it's going to go to the school district. And so when I told her that, and I got mad at her, I said to her, this is plain downright racism. And then I point out a story to her that my son had told me that another boy had pushed her over the bench, the same teacher. And he went and reported it to her, and she did nothing.
Wait, so somebody had pushed him, and when he told the teacher did absolutely nothing.
Yes. So I told her, I say, how convenient is that you did nothing when my son was hurt, when somebody literally, not by someone else pushing them, he literally put his hand on my son and pushed my son, and it means nothing to you. The next incident that happened, my son, he was a very smart cookie from first grade, kindergarten. And so when he was in, I think, first grade, on his report card, they said, he's disruptive, he doesn't pay attention. I mean, all the adjectives you can think of to describe kids without discipline. Mm-hmm. I went into the conference and I said, a child who does not listen, a child who is so disruptive, how could he be getting these grades? And I know you don't like him, so you wouldn't just give him these grades because you choose to give it to him. I'm going to tell her how calculated these teachers are. Some of these white teachers are You know what she said? She said, one day I was reading a book and Travis was doing homework. He was taking out his shoes lace and he was putting another shoes lace in. He was drawing something else and he was doing all the other stuff. She was doing when she was describing it, she was doing a lot of stuff. So she said, I didn't call on him to stop. I allowed him to do whatever he was doing. So the next day, I put him in front of the class and my eyes was on him. Listen, for a teacher to be telling me this. This is a 6-year-old kid.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, when I gave the test, he scored 100% of what she was reading. And I said, what does that tell you? It tells you that my son hasn't been challenged. He needs more stuff. So what they did, they kept writing a log on him, the history, because they want to carry it over on him to say, to when he reached an adulthood, to say, oh, from he was small, he was this way, he was that way. So they have a rap sheet on him. Mm-hmm. Believe it or not. So when my son, second grade teacher, pretty much the same thing. So when my son reached third grade, I went to his conference. The teacher said to me, oh, he's an intelligent boy. He's so intelligent. When I got him in my class, they gave me a rap sheet on him this long.
Wow.
That's what this teacher told me. She said, I put him in front of the class because the kid that they described, I'm like, I am ready for this kid because this is a horrible kid. And she said 1 week passed by, she waited, she hasn't seen that kid. She said what she saw was a kid who was very intelligent that needed more. So she told me that she was giving my son 5th grade work while she was giving the third grade work.
It just goes to show you though that it starts early. So yes. If he's being treated like this in first and second grade, then if he wasn't being given backup or the proper reinforcement at home and also somebody watching this, he could have easily fallen into the pattern that they said based on how they were treating him based on their own racism. So it's okay, I'm going to treat you like a bad kid, right? And a kid then could take that in and start acting like that. And then once they start acting like that, it's oh, well, he's been acting like this since he was in 1st grade.
So when my son reached 4th grade now, my son was getting all A's. He didn't have to study anything. He just spit it out. My son was getting 100%. The teacher was trying so hard not to give him 100%, but he was on the A on a roll, back to back. So I think he got some gold in something. He had done something and he got, they pick him out of the class and said, oh, this is an award for whatever. So he came back and he was excited and he held the award in front of the class. Mm-hmm. When I went for Travis' school conference meeting, you want to hear what the teacher said to me?
What?
She said, he likes to show off and his problem is he's not sensitive to the other kids. I said, what do you mean by? What do you mean by he's not sensitive to the other kids? I said, can you give me an example? She said, the other day he got an award and he held it in front of the class showing. I said, the Super Bowl have adults playing on their team. When they won the game, they held their trophy so high. What do you think my son should just hang his head down because the other white kids did not achieve higher grade than my one black son in the class? I said, because my son is black, he's not deserving to show it off to the other white kids.
What did she say?
She was like, it's not a race. I said, it is a race thing. And I know it's a race thing. You know, after that, Tennesha, if she was given a test just based on what you know, the capital of Minnesota, for instance, and he was going to put St. Paul, and he didn't put a capital S, she marked it wrong.
because she wanted to make sure that he wouldn't maintain an A grade. And I knew that was going to happen. But I told my son, I said, what you have inside, don't care, don't base on the grade that they have given you. Because I know you're smart. And if they give you a B, I still know that you're an A plus. So that doesn't reflect who you are, in my opinion. The moral of the story is, so be a role model for your kids. So when these things does happen, you can defend your child. Raise your child the right way, so at least you know your kid. Because if I didn't raise my kid a certain way, and I believe, oh, he's capable of this, I understand, I would take it as they said. But I knew that I raised my kid a certain way, so I will not take anything they had to tell me. Nothing. Because I knew my child. I knew as a Black man for Travis, it's going to be harder. And so I would have this talk with him all the time to say, if a police stop you, ask for your lawyer. Don't, because they will intimidate you, so you tell lie on yourself. Because I know as a child growing up, it started from kindergarten, they have a rap sheet on him in school when my child does nothing. So yes, I'm scared for him as a Black man. Travis would never steal anything. Travis would never hurt anyone. But I'm scared for him. Because just being Black is a crime for a Black man in America.
As we've seen over and over and over and over again.
I'm seeing it for my own self now in the workplace and stuff. And I won't let it won't slide with me. I won't let it slide with my kids, and neither will I make it slide with me. It's easy for someone to say, give up, don't fight. But if you give up, don't fight, there will be no change in the system. In order for change to come, you have to fight for it.
But Mom, do you think it's actually possible? Like, I've been really excited in a way to see that there is some change being made right now. Like, people are recognizing what the flaws are in the system and the fact that this systematic racism is what has fueled this and what has kept it going. But there's a part of me that's like, it's so embedded that it would almost be like draining yourself of blood. Like, blood is everywhere in your body. It's so embedded. It's who you are. It's what keeps you going. But how do you drain your entire body of bad blood? You know what I'm saying? And that's what I feel like America is. It's riddled with so much bad blood. Like, can you actually drain all that bad blood?
It can't, but at the same time, this is what I see change could help with. More Black or minority in authority. Because even when you have a position in authority to give order, they feel like they resent the fact that they have to take orders from you because you're not white. You have an accent. You shouldn't be telling them what to do. So the way they would talk to me, comparing to a white American, the white American might be rude to them, but they will accept that. I might be nice to them, giving the same order, but at the same time, who are you for me to take order from?
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? But if we were having more of it at all levels, they'll have to get used to it. And so it would probably retrain them a bit. Yes, you're going to have, but when that does happen, you're going to have lies. They're going to come up with stories because they don't want to take you. Who are you?
Oh, I've been there. I mean, you remember the job that I had when I first moved to New York. Yeah. Like,
exactly. So they're going to lie on you, and your white boss is going to take sides with them. You understand? Because you're the minority. For change to happen, we have to realize that's going to happen. They're going to lie. You have to have a committee to dig into this. So if you have a committee of all white people, how are they going to get it right? They're going to be on the white people's side because they never walk in our shoes. So you have to have a diverse committee to evaluate these cases.
I mean, yeah, it starts at the top. The leadership has to reflect the people in that company. You know, I mean, you can't just have low wage employees be Black and then the executive team be white. Like it just can't work like that.
And that's what's going on right now. You have an HR, which is white more than your toilet paper. You have management, which is even whiter, maybe the toilet bowl. Then the employee that you supervise, oh, I didn't like how she talked to me. Oh, right away, she has a communication problem. She doesn't know how to talk to people. And because they want to get you out of that position, somehow they're going to label you. So it's not an easy world, Tennesha.
The first time where I was like, whoa, this is deeper than I even realized was when I had that job when I first moved to, like, it was like a coordinated effort to try to get me fired. So what happened is I had moved to New York and I had been with this company that I was working for a couple years at that point. I think like 3 or 4 years at that point I'd been with the company. So I got a new position in New York, and this was my first managerial position. So I was going to be in charge of a team of like 10 or 12 people. So there's 10 or 12 people that I was managing. And the second I got there, I felt it. Like the second I got there, it was like they let me know, oh, you're not worthy and we're not listening. It was a group of mainly older white people. So there was like 2 teams. There was like a Long Island team, and then there was a team that was in New York City. And the Long Island team was all white. And they let me know pretty immediately that like, you're not going to tell me what to do. You're young, you're Black, and they weren't having it. So from the second I got there, it was like the Long Island team created this alliance where they were always going to my boss, like acting like I didn't know what I was doing, like I was treating them wrong. Like any change I implemented, it was a problem. And I was just floored. I was like, are these people insane? I mean, I remember the first week I was there, it just so happened it was like a regional meeting. And so I was getting introduced to everybody, and I was working out really frequently. And so we were staying at like an offsite. So we were at like a hotel doing like the meetings and things like that. And I was working out every morning. I would get up before the meetings and go just like run around the property. It was like a really nice property, like out of the city. I forget where, but out of the city. So I was running around just wearing normal workout clothes. So like a t-shirt and then just, tight like leggings, like things you wear to work out. Yeah. I remember one of the guys who I really liked from the New York City team, he said, a couple of the women, in the Long Island team were saying that you were dressed really inappropriately when they saw you working out, and, you're wearing just like skin tight clothing. And I'm like, what? And I just couldn't believe it. I was like, wait, inappropriate? Mom, it was not like I was wearing short shorts or a cut off tank top. It was like a long shirt and just regular workout pants. And so that was the moment I realized, I was like, yo, these people are going to screw with me because I can't even work out, just run, exercise without there being some sort of controversy around me exercising and what I was wearing. Like, what?
You're going to be scrutinized by them if you do your best, your very best, they're still going to criticize you. I've been there. They want to frustrate you, which I have done, but I won't I will fight to the very end. I will. They try to irritate me. Yeah, it's tiring.
It's tiring.
But at the same time, it is. I've been there. It is. Sometimes I ask myself, why am I doing this? But then I look at it like, once you give in, you give them the satisfaction that they want. I will fight because I'm a fighter. And that's why you guys turn out the way you are, because if I was going to give them the satisfaction what they want, you guys probably would have turned out differently. But I refuse to give white Americans the satisfaction that they need, because there's a future for my kids and my grandkids and other Black people kids. People might look at it like, I don't want the fight. I'm not going to bother with this. But if somebody don't stand up, we remain the same.
One of the things I'm really thankful for now is that I don't really have to interact on a daily basis.
It almost seems like it's an avoidance.
I'm not avoiding it, but I'm at the point, Mom, where I'm just like, I can't have my peace disturbed anymore. I just do not have the patience to correct and deal. And I'm just like, I just want to like do my job and have that be that. Like, why does it then have to be just this constant struggle and fight and explanation? And I was just over it. Like, I was over it.
Sometimes I say to myself, how these people feel to be so calculated with their hatred? You know, it takes so much effort.
It takes energy to hate people. It really does.
Yeah. So sometimes I have to ask myself, if these people were putting that energy into something, you know how happy or wealthy their life would be? I mean, you have to be, I don't know, they're possessed with hate. And I think part of the hate is, what I can tell, it's like people don't hate you unless they see something in you that they want.
Mm-hmm.
And so in my mind, they feel threatened. You know, they see something in you that they don't have, and it threatens them. That's what it is. They want to be like them and they don't know how. So they're scared because they know once these people reach that level, we can never even walk in the old shoes that they throw off. And that's what's happening. They see it, they know what they're capable of. Tell me you give a black man anything you throw at a black man if they don't become the best. Mm-hmm. Black person. Tell me one position that a black person hasn't gone into and be the best. Whatever it may be, they dominate it. You just show it to them, they dominate it just once they had given the opportunity. So why you think they don't want you to reach anywhere? To keep you down from an early stage? Because of that. They knew that once you get the opportunity, you dominate the scene. And that's what's happening. They're scared of it.
Black people have to do that. Like, you can't do anything at a normal level. Like, you can't get into a job and then just be like, I'm just going to do the job. And that's that. Because you will never actually make it. Like, you won't survive off of being normal if you're Black.
Once I met this one lady. We used to work together, actually. And her husband was going to do some form of surgery. So anyhow, she came to work and she said to me that her husband was going to do this surgery. And the husband knew it was a Black surgeon. She wasn't aware because I guess the husband knew her behavior towards her, the way she thinks, I should say, about Black people. So she came to work the morning and she said to me, my husband is having this surgery. And when we went there, I didn't know the guy was Black. But the nurse came out, the white nurse, and said to her, the surgeon is a little bit darker skin.
Why did the nurse feel the need to tell her that in the first place?
So the nurse said that to her, and she in return said, in her mind, that she was thinking of a white person with a darker tone. This she's telling me that. Mm-hmm. So she said when the guy came out and she realized he was a Black man, she was so scared. She told me. So I had to sit her down and have a conversation with her. I told her, my dear, your husband is in the best hands she possibly can. There was no pass for him that he didn't work for. For him to be a doctor, honey, he worked his ass half 10 times more than a white person. He won't get a free pass. So guess what? You have the best doctor giving your husband surgery today. So you have nothing to worry about. He had to study hard. When he goes to the clinical, he has to do the best, so he didn't get a free pass. So your husband, he is in good hand.
What did she say?
Oh, thank you. She said, thank you. Thank you. I said, yes, you need to know what white America is all about and Black America is all about. So she was okay after that, after I sat her down and give her a little knowledge.
Do you think that going forward then, she actually did change her perception of what Black people actually have to do to get to the positions they are? And thereby, did she change anything about her attitude towards Black people?
When Obama was running, I asked her who she's going to vote for. I knew she was a Democrat, but I wanted to hear. And she said, of course I'm going to vote for Obama. So
I guess you changed one mind, Mom.
so you have good ones too. I'm not saying they're all bad.
One of the things that I'm finding interesting about everything happening right now, and it's starting in Minneapolis, is the fact that Minnesota actually is one of the states that produces the most biracial children because they have a lot of interracial relationships. But at the same time, Minnesota is often ranked pretty low in terms of Black people having a good lifestyle, meaning like home ownership, high paying jobs, etc. Like Minnesota tends to be on the low end when you see rankings of states that are progressive for Black people. And so I always thought that was interesting that it's like, wow, there's all these interracial relationships producing these biracial children. Yet at the same time, it seems like there's such a disconnect and such a large gap between things being good for whites and being good for Blacks in Minnesota.
I have known white women who have had biracial kids, and at the workplace, they're almost embarrassed to share that story.
To share that their kids are biracial?
Exactly. So you tell me now, that means they probably love the Black man for only one thing, maybe sex, but not to reform them. Because if you love somebody and care about somebody, you wouldn't be hiding your kids. So that's probably part of it right there.
I think white people who either have Black friends, but particularly white people who have biracial children and are in relationships with Black men, tend to think that maybe they don't possess these tendencies simply because of their proximity to Blackness. I mean, if you're in a house with a Black man and you're raising Black children, you're around Black people very, very frequently. But I think that they're taking that to determine that they either understand it fully or are someone experiencing it, or that they don't have any sort of racial bias because, well, look at me. This is who I chose for my partner and to build my family with. So no, I don't have any of these biases. But I don't think that's true. I think even if you are in a position where you are around Black people, you love Black people, it is who you choose to surround yourself with, that doesn't mean that you don't have some inherent biases that come from being in a white body in America.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I think it's also important for those people to educate themselves, particularly if you are going to be around Black people a lot. Educate yourself on what is happening to them that you can't possibly know just from being around them. Like you can't. It's just a different experience being in the body.
Sometimes like they marry each other and the Black one trying to conform. So the white person not seeing the Black culture as they should.
Because they're going into their world.
To want to fit in.
Right.
So sometimes that's what happening. It's like the stereotypical things goes, oh, Black people are worthless. So it can go like this. I want to show this white woman that I'm a Black man, I'm not worthless. I'm not going to hang about around Black people. I want to hang around your circle. I have gone to parties already where Black man married to white woman, and the only thing I see Black was the Black man. This Black man, he doesn't have any family. So I have seen stuff like that. And with that, there comes no change. There can be no change. Because this Black man wanted to be almost want to be white, in a sense, because they're trying to conform to her for her to look up to him as being different from the regular Black man.
And him thinking that way shows that supremacy, white supremacy, has also been embedded in him. Like white supremacy isn't just what is in white people. White supremacy is overarching on the whole society, and everybody takes some of it in. It's sprinkled on all of us in some ways. And so, you know, he has then a choice going into that marriage to say, either I am going to let this white woman in on me and my culture and my people, or I'm going to completely conform to hers. And unfortunately, when you completely conform to hers, that's white supremacy
No one
rearing
learns.
its ugly head in you, and no one learns and no one wins.
Exactly. And so I think because of the colonialism, what was going on, they feel like it's a privilege for them sometimes.
Right. Like you're marrying into the like it was like the hierarchy that we were talking about before, where whiteness is at the top. And now you're marrying into the hierarchy and you feel like somehow that brings you a level up.
Within that space, no one's learned. I don't say it happened all the time. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that sometimes this happens. Sometimes I have heard Black men say, to get ahead, I need a white woman. I'm running this business, but for me to get ahead, I need a white woman.
I mean, do you think that being with a white woman in that case, being like in a relationship with a white person, do you think that does grant anything more? Like, does that give you any more power? I was talking to or texting with a friend of mine yesterday. So she's Black and she's married to a white man. And we were just kind of talking about, things that come up based on everything that's going on. And one of the questions that I posed to her was about the transfer of privilege. So meaning right now there's a lot of white people that I've seen online, saying that they're allies and they want to learn, they want to make things better. And I commend that. At the same time, I wonder if in an allyship, so let's say a marriage, for example, between somebody who is Black and somebody who is white, yes, you can be an ally. Yes, you can educate, teach, try to understand. But is it ever possible to transfer that privilege? So this is what it looks like in the workplace. In the workplace, companies can help to transfer some of that privilege, like we said before, by hiring, Black people in executive positions. That is a way that you can help to spread or give that same privilege, or at least some of it, that white people have. But in a relationship, it's like if you're married, if it's an interracial marriage, how does the white person in that relationship, how can they actually transfer the privilege? Like, how do you give some of that privilege you have to your Black partner? Is that even possible?
It is possible. For instance, you wanted a business and you wanted to get some loan that would help your wife, which is Black. Because of your white privilege, you're more likely to get it.
But that's not really transferring. It's more so just putting a face on it. So like if I work at a company and somebody gives me a job at the executive level, I have that job. That job is now mine. It's not like a bait and switch. You get what I'm saying? Like that's almost like a bait and switch. Like, oh, we think it's a white person applying for the loan, but really it's a Black person. Like, you know what I'm saying? But
I'm not sure unless you want to be like this lady, Candace Owens.
Oh my God, please don't. I am not mentioning her name ever on this podcast. She is trash.
Unless you want to be like Candace Owens to don't know exactly who you are, then I could see that would be possible. Just pretend like you were a white person in a Black body and just trash every Black person that comes your way. Then, but other than that, I wouldn't see it.
I don't know. I've just been thinking about that. Like just in every case, like in relationships, in business, in friendships, like how can a white person who wants to actually be an ally transfer that privilege? And I want everybody to think about that. Like if you're a white person and you're listening to this right now, what I want you to really think about is, first of all, your privilege, how you use it in the world and how you've gained from it. And then the second step is, how do you transfer that? How do you give some of that privilege to your Black friend, your Black coworker, random Black person on the street? Like, how do you give that? I do think, though, that everything happening right now will bring about some change. I mean, it already has. Like laws that people have been fighting to change for years and years, statues that people have been debating about, like all came down. Like statues came down, laws are getting changed. And it's like, why did it take so long? But now we just did it in 2 weeks.
Think?
What?
You want to hear something? some of the states said they don't have the money at that time. The money came on really quickly, yeah?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's funny because it's like we say that, oh, the money doesn't exist to do X, Y, and Z, yet they just were sending out $1,200 checks to everybody. So, oh, wow, the money just appeared. Oh, like, we don't have the money to fund these programs. Oh, now the money has appeared. Like, we didn't have the money to remove statues. Oh, the money's here now. So it's like, it's not about money. And I'm not buying that anymore. Anytime the government says they don't have the money to do something, that's complete BS. You don't want to do it. Just say that.
I just hope we continue to see changes. But I was going to tell you something interesting. George Floyd, teacher, had an essay I think he had given to the student when George Floyd was in second grade. So she said she asked them to write like what they want to be when they grow up. George Floyd, he wrote he wanted to be a judge. It's so ironic in my mind. He drew the table with himself as a judge. He wrote that he wanted to be a judge when he grew up. And when he knocked his hammer, justice should be served.
Wow.
When all this is happening now, and I'm saying to myself, maybe somewhere inside that, whatever he wrote, even though he didn't become a judge, he wanted justice to be served.
Mm-hmm.
And it is certainly seems like it's happening.
Thanks for coming on. And thank you for being the mom that always taught me to have confidence in myself, no matter who else was in the room, and for always standing up.
Thank you. You're welcome, the daughter.
Okay.
Okay. Send me a copy, okay?
Well, it's gonna be today's episode, so.
Okay.
All right. Love you.
Love you too. Bye.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, bye. Why do you keep saying bye?
Okay. Love you. Bye.
Love you too. Bye. Hello again, my lovely listeners. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of DRL. If you like the show, be sure to go on iTunes and leave a rating and also write a review. And don't forget to share with your friends and tell them all about DRL. Thank you so much for supporting.